Hello YouTube, Dave here again. So today I'm going to be making a character on camera for the Pathfinder 2nd edition playtest. Now I know in the video that I did the other day I talked about potentially doing a cleric to get some spellcasting stuff out of the way, but honestly I think I'm just going to stick with making another fighter at this point in time, but maybe make one a little bit different. So I decided today that I'm going to make an elf archer as a fighter character. So I just was looking over my minis, and this is the one that I got the inspiration from. So we're going to go ahead and make an elf archer. So I got the character sheet here, and like I said, it does look a little bit different maybe than what you would see in the playtest itself. It's just I'm running out of ink on my printer, so I just printed off basically what I could here. So hence the difference in the colors, but I don't think it's going to make a huge difference. So the first thing that we need to do is I've got just this here set up, so it'll make things a little bit easier to sort of see and follow along with. So I've got my stats section here. So I've got the stats: strength, dex, con, intelligence, wisdom, charisma, the base numbers, the ancestry values, background, first level, and the final score. So the thing that I kind of didn't do properly or didn't show properly was the way that free boosts are applied. So for example, each character gets 4 stat boosts that they can take that they get at first level. And a stat boost is a +2 bonus to any one stat. And whenever you gain free stat boosts from a single source, they have to go on different stats. So what I had done was I just added up all the free boosts together, because your race and your background tend to also give you a free boost, and I just had them all sort of clumped into one category. So I'm not going to do that this time. I'm going to be assigning the free boost under the category that it was received in, so ancestry or background, and then I've got my 4 ones for first level, which again you can only put 1 into any given score. A first level character cannot have an ability score above 18, so 18 is the maximum. That said, the way that this works out is you can, generally speaking, have an 18 in at least your primary stat that you want to use for your character, and you can have some halfway decent stats after that. When you gain ability stat increases later on, which I think you gain your first one at 5th level, I think it is, you actually gain several, I think it's like 4 boosts that you can do. And with those 4 boosts, again, you have to assign them each to different stats. Now, once you go beyond first level and you get an ability boost, you can go above 18. It's just anything from the 10, which will be the starting number, up to 18 is considered, each boost is considered to be worth 2 in terms of an increase in your stat. Once you reach 18, however, each boost that you put into it will only increase the number by 1. So if I had 18 and then at 5th level I put a boost into the stat that had the 18, it would only go from 18 to 19 and not 18 to 20. So anyway, I've also got a few other things kind of written down here. I've got the background section that I can write in what my background is going to be. Perception for what my training is going to be in that, the ancestral feat that I get at first level, the fighter feat I get at first level, the number of skills I have training in, which is equal to 3 plus intelligence modifier, and then I've got my hit points for race, class, and con modifier. The only other thing that I need to put in are the saving throws, and we'll kind of just get those in here. So we've got saves, and then we've got fort, reflex, and will, and basically what I'll just do is write in what my training level is in each of those, as well as what my training level is in perception. Perception is typically used for initiative in this game, so the more perceptive you are of your environment, basically the quicker you can act, which, yeah, okay, it's a fair way of doing it, I guess. Now, if you're trying to sneak up or hide or be stealthy, you would actually use your stealth roll for initiative, which is, again, kind of an interesting mechanics. But I'm not going to be using stealth with this character. Probably not too much, but we'll see, because like I said, I want to make a lightly armored elven fighter archer character. So The first thing I'm actually going to do is write down the base stats, because with this method, all of your stats start with a base number of 10. Alright, so I've got the 10 there. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually flip to the elf section, and we're going to kind of look at all the information there, and then I'll fill it in after that. I'm also going to look at the backgrounds, and the basic fighter stuff as well. So I'm going to look at all that before I fill in those numbers. So we'll zoom out a little bit here. And Ancestry, so we got dwarves, and then we got our elves. So, elves, they get an ability boost to dexterity, intelligence, and they get a free boost. They also have a constitution flaw, meaning that I get -2 to my constitution. The languages start as common and elven, but if I have a 14 intelligence or higher, I can select one of the following there. So celestial, draconic, gnoll, gnomish, goblin, orcish, or sylvan, and I get low light vision. So that's basically it as far as that goes. So as far as with your characters, so at first level you get an Ancestry feat as well. So I'm just kind of looking at the different feats that they have here, and I think the one that I'm actually going to go with is going to be Nimble. So your reflexes and lithe muscles are tightly honed. Your speed increases by 5 feet. Additionally, when you use the stride action, you can ignore difficult terrain in 1 square during that move. So I think that's the one that I'm going to take with my character here. So just going to write in under the Ancestry feat. I'm just going to do that now so I don't forget. So I've got Nimble, which is +5 speed. And, oops, ignore difficult terrain. 1 square. So just a little bit of shorthand there, just so I know what it is. So I also had, for my Ancestry, I have a boost to Dexterity, which is +2. I have a boost to Intelligence, which is +2, and I have a flaw in Charisma, or sorry, not Charisma, Constitution, which is going to be -2. And I believe I had a free one as well. Most races give you a free stat boost. So let me just go back there. Yep, so as you can see, you got Dexterity, Intelligence, and free. So that free one, I think I am actually going to put into, I think I'm going to put it into Strength. Just because as a fighter, so there are finesse weapons in this game, but for some of them you use your Dexterity for the attack roll, but you'd still use your Strength for the damage. So let me just make sure I've got that correct. Let's go back to the equipment section. Oops, went way too far. It's before the spells. That would explain it. So equipment, we'll look at weapons. And for weapons we've got Finesse. So Finesse says you can use your Dexterity modifier instead of your Strength modifier when making the attack rolls with this melee weapon. You still use Strength when calculating the damage. So basically, and there's also composite bows as well, which I can use my, which I can add my Strength bonus to the damage on. So you got, what do we have here? We've got composite longbow. Has the propulsive ability, which lets you add your strength damage to it. So I want to have a halfway decent strength in addition to my dexterity, because I'll be using the dexterity for the attack rolls, but I would still like to have a decent strength for damage with any melee weapons that I have to use, as well as if I get a composite bow and be able to use its feature as well. Alright, so we've got the ancestral stuff down. So let's just take a look next at the at the backgrounds. And I think that's sort of in the just before the class section itself. Alright, so we've got our different backgrounds. We've got Acolyte, Acrobat, Animal Whisperer, Barkeep, Blacksmith, Criminal, Entertainer, Farmhand, Gladiator, Hunter, which is probably the one that I'm going to go for, Laborer, Merchant, Noble, Nomad, Sailor, Scholar, Scout. A Scout might be a good one too. Street Urchin or Warrior. So the two that I'm kind of interested in are Hunter and Scout. So Hunter says you stalk and take down animals and other creatures of the wild, skinning them, harvesting their flesh, cooking them, blah blah blah. Choose 2 ability boosts. One must be Dexterity or Wisdom. The other is free. You gain Survey Wildlife feat and you're trained in Hunting Lore skill. Okay. So Scout says you called the wilderness home as you hunted game, found trails, and guided travelers. Your wanderlust could have called you to the adventuring life, or perhaps you were serving as a scout for soldiers and found you liked battle. You gained the Forager skill feat, and you're trained in the Scouting Lore skill. So I think I'm actually going to go with Scout for my background. So let me just write in Scout. And so with Scout, it gives me the Forager skill feat, and I'm trained in the Scouting Lore skill. So skills, Scouting Lore, and then Forager feat. Okay, so it also gave me ability boost to my Dexterity, or was it Wisdom? Yeah, Dexterity or Wisdom, and 1 free ability boost. So I'm going to go with a Dexterity for the background, as well as for the free one. I think I'm actually going to put it back into Constitution and get that up to a 10. So up next, I've got 4 first level boosts that I can use. So I got 4 different boosts to apply to my character. So I'm going to be putting 1 into Strength, 1 into Dexterity. I'm going to put another 1 into Constitution. And I'm going to put the last one into probably Wisdom. That way your Wisdom applies to things like, your will saves and things of that nature. So I've got all that done up there. So we have so for our Strength, we've got base 10, 2 for the Ancestry, and 2 for our first level. So that's going to give us a 14 there. Dexterity, we're going to have 10 for base, 2 plus 2 for Ancestry, plus 2 for background, and plus 1 for, plus 2 for first level, which gives us 16. And with the free boost, to the best of my knowledge, for the background, and for the Ancestry, I could put them once again into Dex because they're free. It's only when you get multiple free things for each source that you have to put them in multiples. But I kind of want to spread this character out a little bit and not put all the eggs into the one basket. So Constitution is going to be 10, but we have -2, which brings it down to 8. So we got plus 2 for background and plus 2 for first level, so that's going to be a grand total of 12. We've also got Intelligence 10 plus 2 for Ancestry, nothing else, so 12 there as well. Wisdom is going to be 12 as well, because I've got 10 for the boost, or for the base, and 1 boost at first level. And I'm going to have a 10 in my Charisma. So let's just go back right quick, because the one thing I did forget to write down for the Ancestry is my hit points. So as an elf, I get 6 hit points and a speed of 30 feet, which is going to be hopefully 35 because of my nimble, but we have to factor in some other things in there as well. So we've got the race, down there, so plus 6 hit points. And now we're going to go to our class. And get to the fighter class. Druid fighter. Alright, so for the fighter, key abilities are strength or dexterity. We've got plus 10, so we got 10 hit points for first level. I get it. We'll zoom in a little bit here. So it's 10 hit points plus con modifier. Proficiency, so perception, I've considered an expert in. Saving throws, I'm an expert in fortitude and reflex, and I'm trained in will. I've got skills equal to 3 plus my intelligence modifier. Weapons, I'm an expert in all simple and martial weapons, and trained in all exotic weapons. And I'm trained in all armor and shields, and my signature skills are athletics, acrobatics, and crafting. So these are the skills that I can actually get all the way up to the legendary training level in, or proficiency level. So typically you can only go from untrained to trained to expert for most skills, but for your class, your signature skills, you can actually go to master and then legendary. So let's just fill in some information here. So we've got class, we've got 10 hit points for that, and we have plus 1 for our con modifier. Whoop. So race is 6, class is 10, con modifier of plus 1, which is going to give us a maximum hit points of 17 at first level. So our perception we are considered to be an expert at. We're also an expert at fortitude saving throws, reflex saving throws, and we are trained in will saving throws. So now that we've got all that there, and if you're wondering where I get some of these, like the con modifier from, the ability scores work the exact same way that they have ever since 3rd edition Dungeons & Dragons. So a 10 would give you a modifier of 0, and for every even number above 10 you get an extra plus 1. So 12 would give you a plus 1 modifier, dexterity would give you a plus, or sorry, 14 would give you a plus 2 modifier, plus 3 for 16, and plus 4 for 18. So we've got sort of all that stuff worked out there. The only other thing to kind of work out before I start filling in things on the sheet is simply my first level fighter feat, and I've already determined what I want that to be, and I've gone way too far here. Paladin. Oh. Druid. Fighter. Alright. So fighters also, I should mention, fighters also gain the attack of opportunity feature. It's a class feature that they get at first level. So the trigger is a creature within your reach uses a manipulate action or a move action, makes a ranged attack, or leaves a square during a move action it's using. And you get to make a melee strike against the target creature with the -2 penalty. If the attack hits and the trigger was a manipulate action, you disrupt the action. This strike doesn't count towards your multiple attack penalty, and your multiple attack penalty doesn't apply to it. So if I made 2 attacks in the round, and so the first attack would be my normal bonus, the second attack would be a -5, and I'd make attack of opportunity, I don't apply the -2 to the -5. It's just my normal bonus with a -2 penalty applied for that, and it uses my reaction. But, so I got that ability there as well. The feat that I'm going to take at first level is going to be, whoops, went too far, is going to be point blank shot. So point blank shot just says here, there we go, you are wielding a ranged weapon, you take aim and hold your weapon to pick off nearby target or nearby enemies quickly. When using a ranged volley weapon while in the stance, you don't take the circumstance penalty to your attack rolls within the weapon's volley range. When using a ranged weapon without a volley trait, you get a +2 circumstance bonus to attack rolls made within the weapon's first increment. So weapons like the longbow or the shortbow have volley ability, so that gives you a number, and if you're attacking within that range, there's a penalty, I think it's like a -2 penalty or something like that to hit. and anything outside that number you can sort of make your normal. You get your normal bonus to, and then you've got, range increments sort of outside of that. So point blank shot is the one that I'm going to take. That way, if something's within the volley range of my bow, it's not going to matter. So fighter feat is point blank. Okay. So we've got all that information here. I'm just going to set this off to the side and start filling in some information on the character sheet itself. So just have a look here. So the first thing I want to do is fill in the stats. So we've got our strength score 14, which is going to give us a modifier of +2. Our constitution is 12, which is going to give us a +1. Our wisdom is also 12, which will give us a +1. Dexterity is going to be 16, which gives us a +3. Intelligence is 12 for +1, and charisma is 10, and that doesn't give us any sort of modifier there. We've got our hit points. Let's just put this down a little bit. Just bring that up. We don't need armor class yet. So we've got our hit points here. So we've got our maximum, current, and temporary. So our maximum we figured out 6 for our race, 10 for our class, and 1 for constitution. So that is going to give us a total of 17 hit points. Our perception, we are considered to be trained to the expert level in perception. So they got T, E, M, and L. So trained, expert, master, and legendary. And the way that the proficiency bonuses work in this game, if you're untrained in it, you get a penalty of -2 plus your level. If you're trained, your proficiency bonus is equal to your level. If you are considered an expert, it's 1 plus your level, and if you're a master, it's 2 plus your level, and if you're legendary, it's 3 plus your level. So nothing is going to be beyond expert at this point in time. But for fortitude and reflex, we're considered to be trained to the expert level. So I'm just going to basically shade both these circles in. Do the same here. We are also considered an expert in proficiency. Or perception, not proficiency, perception. And we're considered trained in our will saves. Alright, so let's just fill in these numbers that we've got here as well. So we've got perception. Our wisdom bonus is +1. And our proficiency bonus, we are considered to be an expert, which is our level +1, so that's going to give us a proficiency of +2. Which means our perception is at a total of +3. Alright, fortitude, our constitution modifier is +1. Our proficiency, again, we're considered to be an expert, so that's our level +1, which gives us a bonus of 2. So fortitude is also going to be a +3. Reflex is proficiency, which is expert, so +2, plus our dex modifier of 3. So we get +5 total on our reflex saves. And then wisdom is we're trained, so the proficiency is just our level, which is +1. Our wisdom modifier is +1, so our will saves are made at a total of +2. Alright, let's just slide over to our skills here. So we are trained in the scouting lore feat. So I'm just going to put lore scouting. And we are considered to be trained in that. As far as the other things, so our signature skills, we should fill that in here as well, which was athletics, crafting, and oh, what was that last one? So fighter, acrobatics, athletics, and crafting. Okay. So acrobatics, athletics, and crafting are all signature skills. So these are ones that we can take beyond the expert level, which other skills that are not signature skills, typically speaking, we can't do them unless we take feats that allow us to do so. So acrobatics and athletics. All right. So we have training in a number of skills equal to 3 plus our intelligence modifier. So we can take 4 additional skills. Alright, so for those skills, the first one that I want to take, I actually do want to take training in acrobatics. I also want to take, I'm going to put my proficiency, zoom out just a little bit here, I'm going to put a proficiency into nature as well. I'm going to put one into stealth actually, so I'm going to be trained in stealth. And I get one more. So let's put that one into, let's put that actually into athletics, why not? Alright, so the next thing we need to do is just fill out our proficiency bonuses for all of these skills. So the ones that we are trained in, it's going to be our level, which is going to be +1. And anyone that we're not trained in is going to be -2 plus our level, which will be -1. So for example, proficiency for acrobatics will be +1, arcana will be -1, athletics will be +1, crafting will be -1 because I'm not proficient in it yet, deception -1, -1, -1, +1, -1, and then over here -1, +1, -1, -1, -1, -1, +1, and then we got -1 and -1. Alright, so acrobatics, we've got our dexterity modifier of +3. And I'm not going to fill that in completely yet because we do have armor check as well. I'm going to be using light armor, so that shouldn't be an issue, but you just never know. Intelligence for arcana is going to be +1. So that's actually going to cancel out at +0. Athletics, again, similarly has an armor check penalty, so I'm not going to put anything in there yet, but I do add my +2 strength modifier. Crafting is intelligence at +1, so we got a +0. Deception is 0 for my charisma, so deception is done at -1. Same thing for diplomacy and intimidation. Scouting is based on intelligence, so I get my intelligence modifier there, and +2 for that total. And other lores, I guess I didn't need to fill that in because I'm not going to take any other lore yet. Alright, medicine. So medicine I'm not trained in, but I get a +1 bonus for my wisdom, so that's at +0. Nature, I get +1 and proficiency of +1, so that's going to give me +2. Occultism, intelligence modifier +1, but proficiency of -1, so we got a 0 there. Performance is going to be at -1 because it's charisma based, and our charisma modifier is 0. Religion is going to be at +0 total. Society is similarly going to be at +0. Stealth is actually going to be my dexterity modifier +3. I've got proficiency in that, but there is an armor check penalty, so I don't want to fill that in quite yet. Survival, I've got -1 and +1, so that's a +0. And thievery, I've got a +3 dex modifier, -1 for proficiency, and there's a potential armor check in there as well, so I don't want to fill that in just yet. Alright, going up the sheet a little bit here, we've got our weapons. So we've got simple, martial, and then we have a blank there, so I'm trained in all exotic. So I'm considered trained in that, and I've got expert level training in martial weapons and simple weapons. And then for armor, I'm considered to be trained in light, medium, heavy, and shields. Alright, so we've got most of that stuff written in here. I just want to go to our second sheet, and since I already selected the feats that I'm going to be taking, so I'm just going to write down everything here. So we got Forager, oops, for the background feat. I'll have to look up and see what that does here in a moment. We've got Ancestry feat, which I took as Nimble, and class feat. Class feats and features, so I guess I'll just put down Attack of Opportunity, because it is a first level ability. And then for the feat I took Point Blank Shot. Alright, perfect. So the last thing to do actually is going to be to, well actually let's just fill in the stuff at the top of the sheet here. So character name, the mini that I have here is female, so I'll give her a female name, Ariana. Ancestry is elf, size medium, the background that I took was scout, class fighter, alignment is going to be chaotic good. So CG, DD, I'm not going to worry about that. Age, gender is going to be female. Age, I think elves work similarly as how they always have, so I'm just going to put down 115. And then languages, I get Common and Elven. I don't have a 14 intelligence, so I don't get to choose a bonus language. Alright, so we got all that in. The last stuff to actually fill in is going to be our equipment. So just give me one moment here, we'll zoom back out. So all equipment, and in this version of the game, right now we're using sort of the silver piece standard. So silver, everything's listed in silver pieces as far as that goes. Oh, actually, while I'm in the feat section, let's just take a quick look. So Forager. While surviving the wilderness during downtime, you can always find enough food and water to provide yourself a subsistence living, provided that you aren't in areas completely lacking appropriate resources. If you are trained but not better, finding food and water for another or providing a comfortable living style still requires you to attempt survival checks and hope for a critical success. Pan the camera up just a little bit here. Any other successful result, you still find only enough food for your own subsistence. If you're an expert, even without rolling, you can always find enough food and water for your own comfortable living or subsistence living for yourself and one other creature that eats roughly as much as a human. On a critical success, you find enough for a second. And it looks like you just sort of increase beyond that. So essentially, it just means that I can forage for food, which makes sense. So that's what that does. Zoom back out. All right. So go to our equipment. Alright, so starting equipment, I believe we start with 150. Yeah, so your character starts out with 150 silver pieces to spend on common items from this chapter. Items with an uncommon rarity can only be bought with special access or GM permission. Okay. So I'm not going to worry too much about that right now, but the first things I want to look at. Alright, so studded leather is probably the armor that I most want to pick up here. Although chain shirt only has a penalty of -1, but it does have a bulk rating of 2. So the way that bulk works is you have different categories. So there's non-existent or negligible, there's light, and then a number rating. So light items, for every 10 light items that you have, it counts as 1 bulk, and then you just add up the numbers. You're unencumbered if you're carrying an amount of bulk equal to a number less than 5 plus your strength modifier. So I can carry 6 bulk without being encumbered. Once I reach 7 bulk, I'm considered to be encumbered. So if you're encumbered, decrease your speed by 10 feet to a minimum of 5. This applies to every movement type you have. You also increase your armor's check penalty by 2 or take a -2 penalty if you're unarmored. So I really don't want to get up to, I don't want to get beyond 6 bulk. So I think that the leather armor is definitely, or the studded leather armor is going to be the way to go. So I start off with 150. So I just got another piece of scrap paper here. Alright, so 150 SP to start. So the first thing I want to take is studded leather armor. Oh. Sorry, the marker cap is just rolling off the table. So studded leather armor has a cost of 30 silver pieces. So its AC bonus is +2. It does not provide a bonus to touch AC, and the dex modifier cap is +5 for that one. So I can get up to a +5 modifier before I reach the cap on that. So I'm just going to do studded leather. Alright, so the armor bonus is +2 AC, -1 check, and it was 1 bulk. Alright, I'm not going to worry about a shield, so that's all I need for the armor. So now let's go to our weapons. So the main thing that I want is going to be I'm going to go with longbow, I think. The longbow has a bulk of 2. Alright, sorry about that. So I think I'm actually going to go with the short bow just because, again, it only has a single bulk, and pick up the arrows. Now the arrows only come in bundles of 10, so I'm going to have to pick up a few of those for 1 silver piece each. Oops, and I forgot to write down the cost of the armor. I just realized that. So I think it was 30 for the stud leather. Alright, so -30, and then the bow, short bow, is 30 silver pieces as well. So short bow, -30. I'm going to pick up 5 bundles of arrows. Alright, so the short bow does 1d6 piercing. Oh. There we go. 1d6 piercing. Its range is 60 feet. It does not have volley anyway, but that's okay because eventually I want to upgrade to a longbow anyway. So 1d6 piercing, 60-foot range. Oops. And it was 1 bulk. And I need 2 hands to use it. Okay. It also has the deadly ability, which says 1d10. So let me just have a quick look at what that means. I don't know if it's something where I have to be trained to a certain level to use it. That may be like a critical feature. So deadly. On a critical hit, the weapon adds the weapon damage die of the listed size. This damage increases to 2 die if the weapon is master quality and 3 dice if it's legendary. For instance, Master Quality Rapier deals additional 2d6 piercing on a critical hit. Okay. Alright, so it's got deadly, and that's plus, so that's a d10. And then it just has deadly, 1d10, okay. I should also have some sort of melee weapons, so let's take a short, let's take a, I guess they're both the same. Short sword. No, let's take the scimitar, which has a cost of 11 silver pieces. It does 1d6 slashing, and it's considered to be the bulk of it is 1. Oops. I wrote some of that in the wrong spot there. L for bulk. Okay, so bulk 1. And it has the abilities of Scimitar, Forceful, and Sweep. So Sweep, if I make a second attack against a different target, I think it reduces the penalty. And then Forceful. What does Forceful do? And Forceful says this weapon becomes most dangerous when you build up momentum. When you attack with it more than once on your turn, the second attack adds a circumstance bonus to damage equal to the number of weapon damage dice, and each subsequent attack adds a bonus equal to double the number of damage dice. Okay, so it does 1d6 right now, so if I made a second attack with it, it would get a +1 bonus to its damage there. And there's just a few other things that I would end up wanting to take as far as just basic mundane equipment goes. But I think I'm just going to stick with some really light stuff for now, which would be like a backpack, climbing kit, and just ordinary clothing. So backpack, which has no bulk rating, and it costs 1 silver piece. I'll get the climber's kit, which is 5 silver pieces, and it does have a bulk rating of 1. Whoops. So we're starting to get up there in terms of the bulk. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, still under my numbers, which is fine. And then finally, just the ordinary clothing, which is 1 silver piece. And the bulk on that is negligible as well. And that's all I'm actually going to take for this character. I've got dark vision. And I don't necessarily need, I think there's got to be rope in the climbing kit. So climbing kit includes, a satchel includes 50 foot of rope, some pulleys, a dozen pittons, a hammer, grappling hook, and 1 set of crampons. Climbing kit allows you to attach yourself to a wall. Okay, yeah, so that's all the sort of the exploration equipment that I would really need for my character. I guess I'll take a bedroll as well. Which is actually -1 copper piece. So, is there anything I can take that's copper pieces as well? Just to kind of get that to the point where, you know, that's fine. So -1 CP. Alright, and that's all the equipment that I really need for my starting character. So I'm just going to go ahead and fill this stuff in on the sheet, and I will be right back. Alright, so I got everything filled in on my character sheet, so I'm left over with 82 silver pieces and 9 copper pieces. I've got stud leather armor, short bow, I got 5 bundles of arrows, a scimitar, backpack and ordinary clothes, bedroll, and a climber's kit. So for the bulk, we've got our numbers down here. So encumbered would be, the number is 5 plus strength modifier, which is +2 right now. So I'm just going to fill those both in. So I'm considered encumbered at 7 bulk, and my maximum amount that I can carry is considered to be 12 bulk, which is 10 plus your strength modifier. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 bulk. And with the items that are considered light, like I said, I need 10 total in order to actually reach a single unit of bulk. So right now, I've got 5 bundles of arrows, which are considered light, and a bedroll, which is considered light. So that's only 6 items. That's less than the number required to make up an extra bulk. So I've only got the 1, 2, 3, 4 bulk to deal with right now. So I can move at my full speed and not have to worry about it. So over here on our primary sheet, Just going to go in and fill in some more of these numbers, just kind of finalize everything. Class DC, I don't really have to worry about that at this point in time yet. Hero points is something I'll talk about in a future video, but you start with 1 point. And my speed is normally 30, but I took the nimble, so I actually have a speed of 35. And for armor class, alright. So armor class down here, we've got AC of touch. So we got the AC, and TAC, just get it to focus there. Alright, so the armor class that we have is 10 plus is equal to 10 plus dexterity, or dexterity cap if I reached it, my proficiency bonus, and the item bonus. So I took studded leather armor, which gives me, I'm considered to be trained in it as well. So proficiency for being trained in something is equal to your level, so that's +1. My dexterity modifier is +3. And the item bonus that this grants me is going to be a grand total of +2. So that's going to give me a grand total of a 16 armor class. So 3 + 1 + 2. Touch armor class is going to be a little bit different. So I basically have my dexterity modifier, and I guess I'd be considered trained in that as well. So all I have is that, and the dexterity modifier +3. So I've got a touch armor class of, oops, not +14, 14. So basically my armor does not apply here at all. Now some armors like the medium and heavy armors will actually impact your touch AC, but where I'm using light armor, that's not going to take effect there at all. Alright, the last couple of things to fill in is just to finish off my skills with the armor check penalty. So armor check is -1 for the few things that it applies to. So for those skills, we'll start off with our acrobatics, which is 3 + 1 - 1, so +3. Athletics is 2 + 1 - 1, so for +2. And then we've got stealth, which is going to be 3 + 1 - 1, so +3 on stealth checks. And thievery is 3 - 1 - 1, so I only get +1 to thievery checks. Not that I plan on making those with my character. Now, last couple things are going to be our weapons. So I got my scimitar written down here for my melee weapon, and it did not have the finesse feature, so I'm going to have to use my my strength that I had, forceful and sweep, which I'll just write down here as well. Forceful and sweep. But that's okay. That's again why I wanted to have a halfway decent strength to begin with. So my strength ability is a +2 modifier, and I'm considered to be an expert level in weapons. So the proficiency bonus on that is actually going to be +2 as well. Now I don't have any item bonuses. It's not like a magic weapon or a masterwork or anything like that. So I get a +4 bonus on the attack rolls there. The damage that it deals is 1d6, plus my strength modifier of +2. And we've got B, P, or S here. So it is currently, well, this one actually is just a slashing weapon. So I just shade in the circle for slashing. And that's it. There's no other damage at this point in time. And then there's forceful or sweep. And that's it for that weapon. Then we got our short bow. So I filled in short bow, and the range is 60 feet. Other damage is plus 1d10 on crit, because it's got deadly. Alright, so our attack bonus is our dexterity modifier, which is +3. And again, we are considered to be expert level training, which gives us a proficiency bonus of +2, our level +1. So we got +5 bonus to attack rolls there. Now with ranged weapons, you don't add any modifiers at this point in time. Like I said, I do want to get a composite bow at some point in the near future, but I currently do not have one of those. So right now, the damage is just going to be 1d6, but I can do an extra 1d10 if I get a critical hit, and it is piercing damage. Alright, so that's it. Our character is actually done and ready to go. So we got our first level elf character. first level Elven fighter. I know that I had made a fighter for the video where I kind of talked about you know, how I made that character, but this one I actually wanted to show it properly and basically do it all sort of on camera, showing where I'm getting the numbers from, and doing the numbers a little bit better in terms of making sure that I kind of spell out very clearly where those free bonuses were coming from and why it looked like I had sort of doubled up on things when I shouldn't have been able to. So anyway, there you go. That is my Elven Fighter Archer character for the 2nd edition Pathfinder playtest. Hope you enjoyed the video, hope you found it helpful, and if there's any other questions that you have about character creation or anything like that, just let me know in the comments below and I'll be more than happy to answer them. Anyway, thank you guys very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and we will see you next time. Take care.